Two experts in ICF.
Yeah.
Decades of experience. One podcast.
Yeah.
Two hosts with a lot to say.
Look, I cannot sit through a struggle. I gotta get up and hustle. I gotta push through the pain, cause really that's how you build muscle.
Welcome to the Build with ICF podcast with your hosts, Trevor Brown and Heather Brown. Yep, they're a package deal. With over 20 years of ICF installation experience, Trevor can throw down some expertise on sales, marketing, and training. On the other side of the table sits Heather, aka the girl boss. And she's earned the title as the owner of an award-winning ICF construction company, a drafting and design company specializing in ICF. And the numbers? With a master's in accounting, she does that too. Sleeves up, boots on. This is the Build with ICF podcast.
I don't want nothing for free. I'm here to work. Been through the dirt. I've been through the dirt. Yeah.
Well, it's been a couple weeks since we last recorded and posted an episode, but this has been the one we have today has been in the works for a little bit.
Yeah, I think we've even teased it. I can't remember it all, but I think I've brought his name across the podcast waves here a few times. So it's fun that we're getting all these people that we've actually been talking about, because then also the people know I'm not a liar, that we are actually going to bring these people on the podcast. So
yeah, it's just a scheduling thing. It's difficult, but yeah,
it's tough, and we're like West Coast, East Coast kind of thing going on. So we've got Michael Cleary on here. He's known, I think, a lot in the ICF world as the panelization guy, the guy that panelizes ICF and does stuff in New York City. And, you know, there's been articles written about him. I've talked about him on the podcast here. Just a really cool story about ICF and stuff. So, hey, Mike, thanks for coming on. We appreciate you being here.
Thanks a lot.
We're going to get you right into, what are we, episode 57?
Yeah, episode 57.
Wow, that's awesome. Okay. So we're cruising along. I've got a few more lined up. It's that time of year where we slow down, so we get to do some more episodes and stuff. So we'll get it rolling. But episode 57, we're going to start off here, Mike, getting you just give us a little origin story. How did you get into the ICF world?
Well, it wasn't my construction days originally. It was my development days of hotels, which was started back in the mid 90s. And I did my first mid-rise in 2005 up in Saratoga County, New York. And I did it out of ICF. And that we had some stick-built hotels in the area. And we literally had comparisons, and they were close in rooms, square footage, use, everything. And the one hotel was about $72,000 a year less in utility costs. And that's not speculative. That was it, point blank, period. And if you correlate that back to how much debt you can buy with $70,000 a year. So that's when I started it. And I never built another hotel after that. Any one of ours or pretty much anything I've built has always been with ICF. Started it very early, about 2000, 2001. Hotel mid-rise was 2005, and then just took it from there and did probably 4 or 5 other owned hotels with partners, all out of ICF. I got out of that development game in the 2010 meltdown and just concentrated totally on I just kept on getting calls about doing consultation stuff. Paul Comosi and I were probably one of the tightest relationships I had at the beginning back then. I mean, I bought forms from Paul for a Hyatt Place. I did the first ground up Hyatt Place in the nation in Saratoga as well. And that was in probably 2006 or 7. And, I've done Fox, I've done, all the block. And then I would get calls to consult, and then I generally hung that up, and then I started getting into the Helix, the fiber world back in 2000. Not as my priority, but as a secondary type palette of stuff that you can use. And in the ICF world, obviously, the rebar, pouring concrete without voids. And if you can make your forms flow better, et cetera, et cetera. Plus, I'm not going to give it a Steelix or a Helix promo right now, but it's just a more higher performing wall, period. We can go down that road some other time. After that, I just started, it was it was Paul Camozzi. It was Paul Camozzi on the 2016. He convinced me to go out and consult on just a 4-story or 5-story Hilton Garden Inn. And I said, Paul, like, please. He goes, Mike, you wanted somebody to use Helix. And this, in 2014, that's what it was, 2014. And I go, what's the deal? And he goes, well, the owners are the construction people. They've been in business 100 years. They're the developer and they own the hotel and they don't care about trying stuff. And at that time, my biggest problem was, hey, I'm going to yank all the rebar out of your forms. And that was quite a walk up the road back then. Now it's not as bad because of the amount of use out there. But in fact, that's the project that got me into panelization. I think I won awards for something with that one. And it was the first project I've ever dealt with where I couldn't get concrete to the site on temperature. I mean, we can pour anytime we want, with the exception of if you can't get your concrete on site on temp, you're not going to do it. And that went on that project one time for almost 4 or 5 days. And I'm looking out in the parking lot one day and I just said, take them 53-foot trailers, we're staging in, tarp it off, and we're gluing freaking walls together. I mean, that's just what we're going to do. And that's what we did. But we did, foam, hand scaffolding, stuff like that. And probably for a day and a half, we put the walls together. And 2 days later, I had a sign crane come in, and basically 4 hours later, I had the entire floor of the hotel done. And I just look back and I go, because I've done panelization with wood and stuff before, and it never just rang in, clear as a bell, like, that's, this isn't. You're able to do it. Will it hold the weight? Can you put the bucks in? I don't know all that. We didn't do that stuff. Right. I did a lot of demising walls. I didn't have a ton of openings and everything. So it was nothing, but it was enough for me to take it to the next level. And that is what ultimately spurred ICF panels with my relationship with Steve Bluestone as well.
Yeah. So when you guys first were doing that, just so it kind of is a visual for all of our installer people out there, because I have talked about panelization in different ways. We're seeing, I would say we're seeing the panelization on our job sites with like gable ends and stuff, where that was kind of where people, even when they're stacking block, started realizing like, man, this is hard to stack gable ends and snap a chalk line, then pull them down and cut them. And just, it gets to be kind of a pain. And so more and more people have started building their gable ends down on the ground and then lifting them up into place or whatever. So when you first started, you said you weren't doing like window. Did you just make a solid panel and then go back in and cut the windows or door openings out that you were doing, or did you guys?
At what point?
Like in the
first time, yeah.
The first time you did it, did you just slap a bunch of blocks together and just make one big panel and cut the holes out, or did you guys actually frame them with the windows?
Again, I want to preface that. The first time I had my warehouse up and running, or that time I'm telling you about in 2014 where
the time in 2014.
Nope, that was mostly, I was trying to say, that was mostly demising walls. There were some openings.
Oh, gotcha.
And the openings were put in, but they just wasn't a ton. They were only the room they're called communicating doors between rooms. That's the only openings you see in the demising. I had stair towers and stuff. So to do a room, you never will panelize your corridor walls. You need water walls, and there's other reasons for that you don't need to do the corridor walls out of ICFs. So, that's the first time I did it. And then 3 years later, we were doing, the first job we did was an 8-story in Brooklyn. A lot of people don't know that. It was on Clarkson Avenue across from the hospital. And, and then we did the 16-story up, and that's in Mount Vernon, Fleetwood, New York. And that's where we got our groove on as far as the panelization aspect of it up in Albany or Schenectady area where we were doing it. That job just had so many problems on it. Sequence problems. We ended up ripping more walls apart than we actually installed in whole that came down from Albany. And there was over 400 and some panels on that job. Wow. Yeah. So after that, COVID came, and I have been trying to develop my own form. Well, I'm always drawing something, and if I ever showed you my notes, you'd crack up. But COVID gave me a time where I actually sat and I run all my CAD. All the drawings you see, 90% of them is me on CAD or Aspire or basically, SolidWorks or whatever. So I've been drawing CAD since 1991. And it assists me on just trying a bunch of different stuff. And then I 3D print them, the critical components, the connection components, the thickness, the weight, et cetera, and value engineer the amount of plastic in it. These are all areas I'm so new to.
Mhm.
And that's probably why it took me so long to come up with it. But it all started with, if I had my way, what would I want this form to do? And I experimented with my house. And the idea there was to use a very large format form like mine. And I wanted to test if I could leave. It's a 33-foot high lift on the majority of the house, which is 3 floors. And the majority of that, I wanted to stand all the forms up, put the floor systems in, and then pour it all in one day is what we did. And we poured it through sills and through the roof plates. So basically, 170 yards of concrete, all the floor, the structure of the actual form itself was enough to hold the actual load of the actual floor systems. Point loads such as beam pockets and stuff like that, you have to take a structural member down to the footing or whatever to shore it. But 95% of your entire structure, you're just walking on the actual EPS and the plastic of the large format form. And, that opened up a lot of different things I had to start thinking of is, a lot of people aren't used to pouring 33-foot lifts either. So, but it's a lot easier if you do it right and you know how to do it. And, I have different things where we can provide access to part walls, to pump, we have to just your pump mix, depending if you promote the fiber in lieu of a rebar type application. And again, it's all education as far as, how do you say it, what you're comfortable doing or not, because blowouts, I don't think will exist with my form. And I say that if people are going to build floor to floor, 8 foot or up to 12 foot, and you have no seams, the chances of a cell blowing through the EPS without a bird's mouth starting something, or, a seam that's just hydrostatic pressure or whatever, somebody cut a piece of polypropylene inside the form accidentally when they were cutting the rebar wire. You don't see that. You see that as it's coming out the window on the 9th floor. How do you check it? Or when the guy's up there with a grinder spinning the wheel on top of the wall and all the sparks are going down in the wall and you just melted the inside 1 inch of the foam.
Yeah.
That's when you find out that one too. So
going back, we're gonna, because I didn't lead into this part very well, so I'm gonna just explain for our listeners that this is the exciting announcement. Is you've got your block, your block, the quantum block that you are coming out with now. So this is kind of the block you're talking about, which, starts with, back in 2014, you sitting in a 53-foot semi gluing, blocks together for demising walls to now today in 2025. And sounds like in 2026, we'll be live rolling this out, but you've created this new quantum panel, I guess that's correct, right?
I was actually going to stop you before you kept on going with that bad word block, because we don't make walls.
Well, my listeners are used to me saying things incorrectly, so it's fine though. They're kind of used to it, I guess. But that's what I wanted you to talk about. I just wanted to back up a little bit because I think that's the exciting part here is this episode is here to kind of announce your panel coming to market, and an opportunity for people. I mean, that's the exciting part. I mean, you and I have been talking about this for a little while. You sent me over some information on it, and we've been chatting about it and pretty excited about it. But let's go ahead and tell them a little bit what you've got brewing here for 2026.
Well, it has 2 major components that normally aren't thought of in the same space, and that would be manufacturing capabilities and expense or lack of, And then the end user, what's this block going to do for me? Or what's this block? Wow, you got me saying
Whoa,
Ooh,
it's a
don't say
bad
the B word.
word.
Don't say the B word.
dollar. That's $1 in the jar. All right, ICF panel. But this, to me, the biggest thing. You want me to just give you a basic what the benefits are of it? Or
Yeah, I think that, I mean, this is all visual audio type stuff. I mean, people aren't going to, they'll be able to go check out the landing page on this because we'll put it in the show notes. But yeah, give them a visual of what we're talking about here. So, because all of our listeners know, they're not listening to this if they don't know what an ICF is pretty much. So they're hearing it, but we have people all the way from basic DIYers that are just getting interested in building something out of ICF to, we've got our guys that have been guests on here and that have been doing it for 30 years. So we've got a wide array of people that are listening right now, but go back and kind of explain to the basic person, to that DIYer that maybe doesn't understand what is, they're used to seeing a 4-foot long, 16-inch or 12-inch tall block, the quote unquote Lego that we talk about. Right. And then all of a sudden they turn the other way and they're going to see a quantum panel. Maybe explain what they're going to be looking at.
What they're going to be looking at is what's called a large format ICF, insulated concrete form. The dimensions of my panels are 8 feet by 8 feet, and then also 8 feet by 12 feet. One panel, one piece. Secondly, normally there's a vertical furring strip, as you know, for nailing and screwing off finishes inside, outside, whatever you need. This is the first ICF to ever have a horizontal and a vertical at the surface of each side, interior and exterior. And that surface and that panel, that furring strip is 2 inches in width. The foam is imperial dimensions at 3.5 inches, which doesn't mean a ton until you do so many ICFs and you always see that little 3/4 inch jog where the ICF meets the wood wall because the bearing beam is over, not on the foam, so people don't take into account a lot of times them little dimensions and stuff. So plus it's obviously a higher R value. The benefit of a large format form is simply put, you're putting together or already has 64 or 96 square feet of ICF completely put together, but there's no seams. And if you ever had to, where is it going to blow? Traditionally, it's going to blow at your seams of your block. That would be the biggest thing with DIYers, is the fact that you're going to use something now that is going to be a lot simpler to install. There are no corners. There are no T's. You don't have a special corner, for wood corners. You don't have a special T machine for this. What you do is the form is so strong that you can put some very simple corner bracing we have, and basically just either miter your corner or just literally cut back one leg inside, and just basically make a traditional tuck-in type 90-degree corner. Same with a T. Just tuck your foam in. And again, the panels are so strong that you just do not get no deflection. After that, one of the things was to come up with the performance of the hub inside the form. And I went to a round cylindrical hub in lieu of the traditional linear types that everybody else uses. And from a strength standpoint, that by far is going to be stronger than the other traditional ICFs. Not only by the fact I got 3.5 inches of foam compared to 2 5/8, 2 3/4, and I know others have the thicker, obviously, but the skeleton that I have is pretty robust. And again, another major component is the fact that the way this form is manufactured, I have a 4, 6, 8, 10, and 12. And I didn't tell you this before until I got it. I can tell you now. We also have a 16, 18, 20, 22, and 24. No difference. You're not going to buy a little kit and try to modify this or put a pin in here to make these two fit things come together. This can be bought as a 16, 18, 22. And again, everything is modulars, where at the factory, we can give you a 8-inch weld with just two of these components. They not only fit together, there's some specialty type welding and stuff like that's used for them to stay together. But that in itself allowed me to think about the exterior of the ICF form, which nobody has ever thought about. And every one of these hubs goes all the way through from one side of form all the way to the other. It's covered with EPS on one side. And then below that little 1/4 inch of EPS is actually a hex head, Allen head. I believe it to be 5/8 or 1/2 inch. And basically, if you need to access that port, you just take a screw gun with your Allen head, you hit it, and it has a shear capability on it. So basically, once you start rotating it one direction or the other, it breaks. And now it exposes either a thread or a snap cavity that will allow, what do you want? Yeah, I can snap in rails, I can snap in dimple board, I can snap in or thread in either ladder rails. I can put in a tie off bar going up the ladder rails. All you're doing is clipping it in. If you need to remove it, you can untwist it. I literally had to stop just thinking of this stuff because I'm not getting things done to where my core is, and that's just a simple ICF. No, I am not joking when I tell you this.
Keep thinking of other cool ideas. Yeah, they keep flying in. Oh, I like the one I saw the picture of, like, where you just attach your scaffold bracket right to it. Like, you could put you had scaffold brackets that attached to it. That was pretty cool. Just a ton of those things where, like I said, that those are already set up where we're used to taking scab boards and screwing them off to the webs and stuff. You've got the snap-in capability to, where you bring two big panels together to snap in your bracing that holds them together, what would be your scab boards or whatever. So super cool. And then, I mean, I'm sure you were getting to it, but like one of the pictures I saw where you're attaching, we are getting a lot of people asking about putting more foam. They want more EPS on the wall, right? They're like there's energy sticks. There's all kinds of different systems out there that different companies have come up with that you can slide into your cavity. But you were taking this and using those snaps and snapping the foam right to the outside of the panel, which was super cool.
And again, I generally don't throw bombs at my competition. I got to start doing that. I'm not a manufacturer, but bottom line is nobody has it where you have a mechanical attachment back to the actual bait, the back substrate, where my furring strip is out there. All right. Everybody else is doing something funky to get to. They're buying either a bigger form, like you said, and doing an insert. So they're paying more money off the get-go there. And on top of it, they're not getting 100% coverage. It's a thermal break every time you hit that polypropylene.
That web, yeah.
East and west instead of north-south. So that being one of the things. The thing, they have what's called sag. If you have anybody and you've ever seen anybody hang 7 inches of EPS in any other type of block, it won't happen.
Mm-hmm.
It won't happen. 7 inches. And you get sag. Basically, it'll just eventually, the weight of it will just cause it to start, sagging. Again, mine is mechanically attached to it. Say you want it, and that's simply done with that simple male to male clip, and it just clips in.
Mm-hmm.
If you wanted to put a space between it, now think about some of the things you can do with space between. All you have to do is have that coupling and put, what do you want? A 1/2 inch? All right. Well, you'll put a 1/2 inch washer between the two clips. And now you got a 1/2 inch space uniform down. You want a 1 inch space? Put a 1 inch space. Do you want to clip a dimple board between these two pieces? Easily done. Just clip it in. And then the other panel will clip to that, and everything transfers into the actual back of the ICF. So the exterior, the 16-inch on center. I don't know if I mentioned that either.
That was going to be a question.
A 16-inch on center grid, vertical and horizontal as well. Some of the other things that we also have an industrial form. And that industrial form is the grid you see. And then there's an X in the grid that has another hub in the middle. So you're looking at the X with another hub in the middle of that X. And now that gives you an 8-inch on center anyway, up, down, left, right, X, Y, or Z. And that's where you can now build the 16-inch form or 20-inch form. You know how many ICF? I mean, this is what could be a store-bought 20-inch form, or they could literally clip them in together on site, because this product can go flat back if you want. You don't have to. You don't have to buy the form put together if you don't want to. We will put it together, but again, it's just a matter of just snapping the hubs between the two panels. And then if you want a different size form, no different size machines, no nothing. You're just buying a different hub, and then that just clips between the two. If you want the 16-inch form, you're going to put the three together. That makes 16 inches, or we can, sell it that way and ship it that way, which I don't think anybody would ever do on that with. But I guess what I'm trying to say is everything I just spoke of is more the end user. What is this going to do better than what I think the others do?
Mm-hmm.
But from the manufacturing end, it's probably 50% the cost. My 8-foot and 12-foot, the biggest tackle that I had the biggest hurdle I had to come over was the the polypropylene grid that's 8 foot by 8 foot and 8 foot by 12 foot. And to have that to be able to get molded with calibrated shrinkage, just a ton of different stuff, variables that, because there's reasons why they're not that big or haven't been attempted to be that big in the past. And then there's just a ton of different new technologies out there nowadays with the, gas injection type polypropylene injection molding and gas assistant and low temp too as well. And I found a company I started working with probably about 2 years ago, and 2.5 years maybe. And that was it. That when we got over that hurdle, it was on my EPS end, and I was able to solve that one pretty quick. The technology was there. They just were never asked to do it that size. With that said, it was a matter now of, can I put these two things together and will it work or won't it work? So I 3D printed. The biggest things are the critical connections of these pieces going together, the hubs to the panels and stuff. And I did all that, and I was really pleasantly surprised at the strength of them connections and stuff. So I know I go random here. I apologize. So.
Well, I have a question if I can stop you for a second.
Yes.
Okay. So for our listeners, what I'm envisioning is you've got let's just say your 8 foot by 8 foot panel. And when those ship, obviously that polypropylene grid is embedded into that panel already. And the hubs is what you're calling, like what we call the webs in between. That's the hubs that make the different thickness, 6-inch, 8-inch, whatever thickness that you need, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then, so it really makes it pretty simple if you have different size walls, because, I own a drafting company and we draw a lot of basements and main levels. We go 8-inch to 6-inch. So for the distributor, the installer, the homeowner, the DIYer, you're not buying different size panels. You're buying different size hubs, is what you call them, on the inside, different to put together.
Correct. If they want to, obviously, if you ship flat, you're going to save money.
Yes.
So if somebody wants them put together, we're going to sell them, put together. If somebody wants to buy them flat shipped, you're right. You're going to get flat foam panels, and then you're just going to get these square boxes of the hubs, and you're just going to clip them. 36 for the 8-foot form. The 16-inch on, you don't have to. There's a ton of. I don't want to get too far down the line on all these other random uses and stuff, but there's a different hub configurations too for hydro lines. And that's just been another thing too that just never had the opportunity. I call my form a pallet. Mechanical systems outside on the exterior of a building, bringing temporary lights up from floor to floor to floor to floor to floor to floor at the beginning of a job. There's nothing out there, nobody. If you could clip things going up a wall, or if you can embed something. I am having meetings with structural engineers right now, because if my form is that strong to hold these floors and all the stuff outside on its own, Why can't that be considered what's called composite structural element? Meaning that, can I take an account that my foam and my framework on my foam can absorb or take in some account on loading on the main structure now? And because of that, can I thin down or can I diminish the wall thickness on my structure? You value engineering things like that. That's the stuff that, honestly, I had to get somebody in to run the company and just let me keep on thinking all the good stuff to do. But the reason I mention all this is a 12-foot, 8-foot machine in the polypropylene world was almost impossible to think of. I overcame that. And not only did I overcome it, I was able to get one machine that does the 12-foot and you can blank off to do the 8-foot. So I only need the one machine to do both. Secondly, ditto to the EPS process. 12-foot machine, blank off one part, done. I don't have corners. I have no molds. I don't have T's. I don't have the different thick 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 different, it's just, I have no packing. I have no palletizing.
Yeah.
I'm coming up with a solution for, like a boat, UV protection for boats. Of shrink wrapping these in cubes, and then you basically UV protect them. Now you got an outside storage element that you bring in that a lot of ICF companies never could think of. They're putting it all underneath roofs. So these are all the things that I'm trying to put together right now. Thanks so much for letting me get, the word out on it. This is the first time I'm actually talking about it.
It's exciting. We're breaking news. It's cool. That's what honestly, it's great. And little shout out to our listeners. I've had several people reach out here over the holiday. I got some good messages and emails from people just thanking us for getting information out. And so I think this is new, cool information that just gets people thinking about ways that this can work, right? I mean, as soon as you showed me this stuff and I started thinking about it, I'm like, okay, this is, your first thought, you're like, oh, this is your, multifamily, hotel stuff that you've talked about. Like this is, really going to expedite some things like that. But then I really, we're really involved with the National Association of Home Builders and all we just got back from our national conferences out in Denver and, there's still every meeting we go to, they're talking about how do we make houses affordable? How do we make, things that happen? And one of the ways we say that we can affect it is we may not be able to change the cost of goods sometimes because that's pretty well set in the commodity world, but we sure can affect the speed in which we can get these built, right? And affect the man hours. And if we can build structures, whether that be houses or commercial buildings or hotels or whatever it is, with a product that moves faster, when you're talking about a square foot of wall, how many man hours does it take to put up, 96 square feet of wall versus, throwing up one panel. So there's just a lot of, I love how, this podcast has got a lot of information out to people that has made them think about things, right? And I think this is just another thing that has never happened. I mean, this is a new product that's never seen the market, and it's exciting to get to kind of announce it here. I know you're going to be pushing out some ads here leading up to World of Concrete, and I'm sure we'll see you out there. And I mean, that's obviously kind of our big, I don't know what you call it, our Oscars are, it's where everyone shows up, and
the ICF Builder Magazine Awards.
It's where everybody shows up. So, it's exciting to get this buildup going into World of Concrete. But I think it's exciting. We're thankful that you were willing to come on here and talk about it with us so we could get this out to our listeners first. And they're going to be able to get information from you and go and do more and more research on this. So
yeah, we'll put all of your information in our show notes so that people have that and they can reach out. And I know you mentioned you're going to have a splash page for a little bit while you guys are working on all the ins and outs of the website.
The one comment I want to make is just one analogy. Remember, there is the speed because of a big size panel saving labor and everything, and then there's panels that you can still panelize my panels. All right. That's where, if you want to educate people, understand. So I make it real simple. Why is it so imperative that you think you can make them over there, boom, boom, and you can save a little time? Understand this. You don't even offload your block until that floor is in, okay, in traditional world. If I have all my walls done, the day you walk off the site, with your block that you put your floor that you put in for me, I'm standing your walls up. So that there's a difference here. There's a large format block world, and then there's panelization, which this should even go. You should be panelizing my panels. So I just want to make it very clear that this thing can go a next level where people can save even more money when they're building in their garage. Their 8 walls to their home. That's all done in environment, glued together, properly measured, everything, and then you bring them over to the site.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to make it clear that my panels, I hope to do panelization someday to make it even easier and better. That's all.
Oh, I could see it. I mean, you've got some great videos out there, like on YouTube and stuff. Some links you sent me of some of your in the past, your panelization stuff before the quantum panel came out. Where you were panelizing and flying these gigantic walls and the, with a crane in New York City. It's awesome. I mean, I'm going to put all these links to people to go check you out because you've done some really, really cool stuff out there that is documented in video on YouTube and different things and some pretty cool stuff. But
before we finish up today, we've got 3 questions that we ask all of our guests on the podcast. So we're going to run through those real quick with you. But the first question, I don't know if it's going to be like a recent experience, but your most memorable experience with ICF.
Oh, I don't know if it is or it still is, but the 16-story I did in New York was the tallest ICF structure in the nation. That one. Doing it my first time on that Holiday Inn Express up in Saratoga, New York, I got laughed at a lot. Just new technologies. And I not just did the envelope, guys. My envelope is the guest rooms. Mm-hmm. My demising walls in hotels are ICF because your environment, that's your environment, not the 4 walls. It's the individual cubes. Mm-hmm. And that was a time. And then right now, I'm getting excited about something that, you put a lot of work and time into, and you get to see if it's something viable or not. So,
well, that kind of goes into our next one, what you're looking forward to. So this new panel, your quantum panel, is really exciting to hear about. So that's going to be really cool to come out if that's.
Yeah, I think that's probably you've already answered the second question of what you're looking forward to, because I think we're all looking forward to kind of how this is going to go. And 2, I'm sure I was going to say for your most memorable experience, we got to give a shout out to Paul Camozzi, because anyone who meets Paul Camozzi and gets to hang out with him, that's a memorable experience. So the fact that you go way back.
We certainly have no video or audio recordings, and then we'll talk about something.
Yeah.
We'll probably appreciate that.
Paul, we've had, Paul and I have spent many hours at World of Concrete and Builders Show talking about some of those things that we can't talk about on air, but he was a great guest on the podcast, and
he's enjoying his retirement now.
He is. He's probably sitting in his lake house right now listening to this. So hi, Paul. And that's great. So I would say, and then the last thing is just we've kind of been given the pitch, but give us the direct, why should somebody, look at using the quantum ICF panel when it comes out? Why go with that larger panel?
I just can't, from every level, from shipping, handling, cost, the DIYer literally should be just dealing with corners, your typical rooms where don't exceed 12 feet. So if you're laying these horizontal, you don't lay them vertical, you can lay them horizontal. The 16-on-16 grid allows you to rotate. It's the first panel that can be rotated 90 degrees, not just 180 degrees. It doesn't matter which way. I have the capability of clipping in I kept on telling you about the scaffold plank on the outside. That's all on the inside too, guys. Mm-hmm. Say your sheetrockers want to go ahead and do up on the wall. They're not going to bring in the scaffold. They're going to clip in 2 of them things, put a plank on it, go up and work on it, and then pull it off the wall. That's all on the inside as well as the outside of the form. So when I was telling you about them external, twist, remove type caps, gives you the same type clip and or threaded ability on the inside as well as the outside. I just think that I thought of a lot of things that there's not been a major innovation in the ICF world, from the base base technology. Yeah, folder form, this, that, and everything like that. But from just the basic technology in 20 years, 25 years, in my opinion, so.
I agree. I think, and I just think it speaks so much for our industry and, everything about why this is growing the way it is, why we get 2,000 people listening to every episode when I thought I'd have 10 people listening to every episode. The fact is that there's just so many people looking for new innovative ways to build better. We talk about all the time and it's so great. I got a couple emails this over the weekend where people used my term firewood, building out of firewood. And I love it because that's what we're trying to get out to people is, hey man, there's better ways to build. And then it's just cool to see even within our better ways to build, there's better ways to build better. We're seeing things that are coming out with these new innovations like what you've come up with. So I really do want to thank you on behalf of all of us in the industry just for continuing to think about new cool ways to grow our industry and come up with new things. I mean, this is something that it's obviously that we love to do. And so it's really fun to see other people that love it as much as we do or more to just constantly be seeing your brain turning and wheels turning, thinking of, new ways to grow our industry. So super cool. I know you got to get going, so we're going to let you go here. I'm sure we've got another couple episodes in us with you on different things. So we'll be reaching out for part 2 and 3, but everybody, I'm going to put the link. You're still currently working on the full website and things like that, but I think this is exciting.
I'm gonna have a splash page, I think, up in about 2 or 3 days, and cool. I'll be able to give you the ad and probably allow you to publish it out if you want, probably in a week or 2 or somewhere in that area.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah, we'll get it out there. I'm like I said, we'll just get your contact information and things that people can get to you, and then that way they can start to follow. And then as things roll out, they'll be ahead of the game. That's what we like about our listeners; they're going to know things before other people do. So we'll get that out to them.
And then you're going to be at World of Concrete?
Oh, yeah.
Awesome.
I'll be out there the 19th to the 22nd. Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Cool. So people can reach out too, and maybe get a chance to bend your ear there and meet you and see what's going on between now and then. And just a reminder to all of our listeners, you guys continue to give us great ideas and great feedback on what you want to see on here. So we reach out to us at info@buildwithicf on the email, and then also any of our socials at buildwithicf on our socials, and we're happy to try to get back to you on that.
And if any of our listeners are planners and you've heard us talk about World of Concrete and the ICF Builder Awards, the ICF Builder Awards gets really full. So if you are interested in going, it's a great place to go and check out all the different block companies. And Mike's going to be there as well. We're going to be there. But the World of Concrete is in Las Vegas, January 20th through the 22nd at the Las Vegas Convention Center. So you can get your flights and get tickets to World of Concrete now. If you're looking at building with ICF and you want to find out more, we'll be there with the drafting company as well. So come check it out.
It's anything and everything ICF.
It's anything and everything concrete.
Concrete.
I mean, including the pump trucks. There's some cool stuff that they have in that convention center that you would not think would be indoors. So lots of things to check out.
Yeah, we'll do a little episode on the World of Concrete episode prior to that too on what to look for. But anyways, thank you, Mike. Appreciate your time, and we'll get you out of here, and we'll look forward to seeing everybody on the next episode.
Hey, thanks a lot.